This is today's business leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
All right, so on the show today, I have my good friend, Jaime Jay of bottleneck.online. He runs a VA placement and sourcing service, which he'll tell you all about here in a little bit. But he is a great friend and somebody that I cannot recommend highly enough. So if you guys don't know who he is, friend him on Facebook, check out his site, which I'll put the link in here a little bit later. But welcome back to the show, Jaime.
Man, thanks for having me. You said that you wanted to have me back, and I cannot believe it's been like almost a year. I want to
say. Jeez. It's been a little while, hasn't it? I think you're right, because I think it was like March or April or something.
Yeah.
At
least 8 months or so.
That's great. Yeah, you're right, because I think I got my first VA from you in like April or May, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's crazy, man. Way too fast. So when we first had you on the show, a little while after we had met, you were talking about how you had kind of two ventures going. You had the web dev agency that you were doing, which I forget the name of that, which probably doesn't matter.
Slapshot Studio.
Okay, Slapshot Studio, that's right. And of course, hockey. And then you realized that you needed to shut that down to fully focus on Bottleneck. And you were kind of in transition to doing that. So why don't we start there and you kind of catch us up on how that unfolded. I know there was some stuff in the background that happened with Slapshot Studios. I don't know if you want to share that or not. Either way is fine. But why don't you kind of catch us up on what's happened in the last 8 months, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man. So obviously a lot has changed. Beard's grown a little bit longer and a little bit grayer, but I'm good with that. Yeah. So a lot of things, I guess. I was focused on a website development company, and it was doing really well. And so it was very scary for me to let something like that go, because I was letting go of a lot of security in the way of financial security. And right. That's always a good thing, right? To have that financial security there. But it was challenging for me, because I was suffering a little bit on the personal side of things, where I had to be everywhere all the time, and I was doing all this stuff. And while we had a staff in place and it just was like, man, oh man, it was a constant grind. And I was always going out having to get new business, because once a website is done, then, we're kind of done there. There's a couple things, sure, that you can kind of do to continue the relationship. For the most part, you got to go back out there and keep churning. And while there's nothing wrong with that, you got to stay busy. It is nice to be able to rely on some steady income coming in, MRR models, right? Monthly recurring revenue. I love that. And so I really wanted to do something that I could focus on a subscription-based model, meaning that I worked my ass off in creating a system, a process, and then be able to always kind of tweak it and make it a little bit better and a little bit better, but it was always going to be there. And Slapshot just wasn't giving that to me.
Yeah.
And I was also trying to focus on that while I'm focusing on Bottleneck, while I'm focusing on Done For You WP, while I was focusing on Podcast Pilot. There's 4 different entities there that were just had my hands kind of in everything. Ooh, I could do that. Or, every time I had a problem, I'm like, well, I can fix this. Well, shoot, I'm gonna have this as a service, like every time. And I had to say, wow, stop that. So for the last 8 months, I've been kind of learning or educating myself on how to say no, and how to really focus in. So I haven't come up with my word for 2019 yet. I'm still working on that, kind of teetering on opportunity. But last year, my word was focus.
Yeah.
I created an acronym, finding opportunities by creating uninterrupted strategy sessions. And what focus means to me is taking some time just to say, you know what, I'm going to stop and think right now. I'm not going to write anything down. I'm just going to think. And that really helped out. So you asked what has happened over the last 8 months. I've learned how to focus and reprioritize and put my energy into kind of one area. It's still a lot to do, but I've gone ahead and found somebody that's very interested in running Slapshot now. My girlfriend is running Podcast Pilot. I have, the Done For You, the monthly management services, that's going to be managed by someone else. And so I'm able to really hone in my focus on Bottleneck, and then the different divisions or verticals within Bottleneck that we're going to be unveiling this upcoming year. So pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. And I think you hit on something that is definitely worth noting. Like, you talk about how you had revenue from these other things, you had activity, at least, like these are established things at some level.
8 years.
Then you wanted to go into something that, so it's been around. and you go into something that is a little bit newer, because how new is Bottleneck?
Well, technically, it's about 2 years. Oh, in about 2 months, it'll be 3 years old. But
Okay.
But I've been sourcing since 2006. But Bottleneck itself is relatively new.
Right. So you have the experience, and you've been doing it for a long time now, 12 years, or 13.
Yeah.
But remember what year it is now. But you kind of shifted focus on it a lot last year. Like, it was just one of other things. So what was that like being scared to do it? Because I think that's normal. And then being able to find people to run the other projects and focus in on this. What's been the outcome? Is it still like a building year for you, or is it, or has it been like different outcome than you expected, or what's that part of the experience been like?
Great question. Holy cow. So yeah, building, it's definitely been a building year. This is going to be a building year for us. But this is going to be a building year with profitability.
That's good.
Last year was a building year with no profitability, very minimal.
Yeah.
So this year is definitely going to be a building year with profitability. And I attribute a lot of that to Mike Michalowicz. Thank the Lord for Profit First. And I'm so excited he's going to have me on his show to talk about my journey and how I implemented his strategies. I think it's just, if you're unfamiliar with that book, I think you are.
I love it.
Unfamiliar with that book, I cannot recommend it enough.
Have you read Pumpkin Plan and Clockwork yet?
Okay, I have not.
You gotta read those. I just started them.
I do. And that was one of the first questions he asked me, and I was like, "Oh, sorry."
No, I just finished Pumpkin Plan. It's phenomenal, and I'm part of the way through Clockwork. So I didn't even know he had other books. So
it's crazy because I got to read this one. I got to read this one. I got to read this one. They're coming out the woohoo.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, so I think implementing all of these different things and getting the company set up correctly is a big deal. I've had plenty of time to fail, fall flat on my face, and sure, let's just do this and worry about setting up everything later. And that came back to bite me so hard. I'm still in the process of helping Chris out, who's going to be taking over Slapshot, and getting him sorted. Had I done what I've done with Bottleneck back then, it'd have been a drop in the bucket. I mean, it would have been super easy. So building year, big time last year. A lot of lessons learned, and this year's. I'm really, really pumped because our processes are in place, and they're really trucking along. And thanks to you and a lot of the help that you've given me with the personal assistant onboarding template and all that kind of stuff, boy, we've just taken a lot of what we've gathered over the years, and we put it into a nice system, a nice format. And it's coming together.
Well, I'm glad that was helpful. I'm never where I want to be with processes, but year after year I have more done, and then it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. like simple things that we've built that have really helped have been like purchase order request form, instead of everybody just buying what they want, or me buying what I want, which is also a bad idea. And that, things like we built a standardized onboarding form recently, and now we're building like a mentorship process this year is like a huge, I think it's like going to be one of the primary focuses across the whole team, is like when we hire somebody, we have a pretty standard onboarding stuff, and we have manuals like you've seen, and glad you're able to use that. But now we want it to be like, yeah, you have all this training, but who's going to be like your mentor? Who's going to oversee you? Maybe it's a manager, maybe it's not, maybe it's another coworker or something. But it would, we're hoping that with that we can accelerate the learning curve and make the outcome better, faster, obviously.
Love it.
And yeah, I think the reason, I don't even know everything you guys do in the background, which is obviously part of it is your secret sauce, which we could talk about a little bit, I'm sure, but I don't know everything you do in the background. I just know when I send people to you, they get great VAs, and everybody that I've hired has been phenomenal. And anytime there's been any minor hiccups, like you guys just jump in and solve it. And that's nice because it's otherwise you have to learn sourcing from scratch and do it yourself, which I have outsourced stuff and do on occasion, but you'd be crazy to do it all alone anymore, because it's like otherwise you have to then not just you're hopefully good at what you do, but then you have to be good at like sourcing overseas, being a manager, time clocks, like all this other stuff that you and I know it's only taken a couple decades to figure that stuff out, right?
Yeah, we're pretty quick learners there.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. You should be able to do this in like 2 months because it only took me 2 years. But yeah, like you have a really unique process, and I have used them all. I have used every sourcing service out there. I mean, at least I think I have. I've used a few. So what's the different approach that you take, and how is that yielded great results? And for a guy like me, who my personal assistant is through you, and Christian does a phenomenal job, and we've had even for like smaller short-term projects, we've brought in people from your team for contracts, and like I said, it's been outstanding. So how do you get there? What's the difference with what you guys offer?
Well, first of all, thank you. You're amazing. And I really enjoy it. It starts with our team first. We really take care of the team. And we continue to work on our communication processes. So that's something, we use Basecamp and stuff like that, and we work back and forth, but we continually work on that. We have 2 meetings a week. One is with the entire staff. One is with just our marketing team. And we really pride ourselves on communicating the best we can. Now, we're going to run into speed bumps along the way all the time. That happens. But as long as we communicate effectively, we're able to do the second best thing, which is take care of you, our clients. And I'll use you as an example. When we started, we ran into a couple of hiccups. There were some challenges and some issues. And because of the feedback that we got from you, we were able to address those, implement it within our system, and then fix that moving forward for other people that may experience or would have experienced the same thing. And we ran into another where there was an issue with a VA taking some time off. Well, that really forced us to hone in on what does it look like when someone wants to get a leave of absence. So we came up with a process for that. Now there's an entire system throughout Bottleneck, not just my internal staff, but all of the staff that work through Bottleneck for our clients. There's a process for them to follow. There's a steps they have to go through in order to request time off and alert our client and alert us. And there's just all this stuff that happens now. And thank God we ran into that problem, because it really helped us fix it. And so that's one of the benefits of Bottleneck is that we are growing, and we're growing fast, but we take the time to listen, and we take the time to take action on the things that need to happen. And this is huge, because a lot of times, if something doesn't go the way you want, I'm talking about you or me, and a client is upset or something, many times, I'm not saying you or me, but it gets in our way. Screw that. I need to go do this. I'm going to focus on people that aren't causing me. Instead, we embrace that. We love the criticism. Sometimes it comes in heightened volumes. However, we really do embrace that, and we will pick and choose what we need to do, and then we'll prioritize it. However, any concern from a client is is a justified concern because it's their concern. Now, there does get to certain points where maybe it becomes bitching or whatever. And then at that point, we need to reevaluate, is this a good relationship for us? But in getting into these relationships too, we have our 4 core values that we make sure that we align ourselves with these people. So while there's a vetting process that happens with our candidates, our virtual assistants, there's also a vetting process that happens with our clients. And that's why it's so important that we have a consultation in the beginning and just see, how things are going to work. Yes, we want to grow our business, but we want to grow it really strong. And so the bonds that we make early on, we want to make sure that these are bonds that we can continue on for years to come, because that's what separates us from other companies. I would never say we're better than all these other virtual assistant companies out there, but I would say that we're different. And we're different in 3 different ways. 1, we have a good client training onboarding process.
Yes, you do.
We have to push this heavy on, because this is a lot of stuff that we don't do. We don't create, typically I'm talking about business owners, business leaders. We don't create job roles. We don't do delegation roadmaps. We don't list down all the tasks that we do in a given day and assign 2 values to those. Does this give it energy or not? And is this something that we can do ourselves, or do we need to delegate this? And we really work through this. And then the second is the job role. And then we go into, how do you do a good meeting? Create an agenda. And then how do you do a good interview? How do you know, right? And then we go over an agreement. We don't small print anything. Everything is bold. So this is the first thing. The second thing is we work really hard on the VA end of things. We do a 3-tiered vetting process. We make sure that they can, because they're coming from the Philippines. A lot of people's number one concern is what? Do they speak English? We hire all college grads. And the reason why is because 100% of the universities in the Philippines are taught in English. We also vet them that they can speak, read, and write, and most importantly, comprehend English. We vet them. We do a tech check. Are they hardwired in, or are they Wi-Fi? Make sure they're hardwired in. We also have another process. What happens if their power goes down or they're unable to log online? We have an onboarding process for them where they have to write out what their 2 backup plans are. So number 1, where do they go? Can they walk down the street and then just at least message you? Do they have a backup device in case their computer breaks? What is that? So they write all that out. The third thing is we vet for soft skills. And this is we do a DISC assessment. So what are their strengths and weaknesses? This is really important. When we hire a virtual assistant, we're not looking for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We are looking for people that want to come and nothing wrong with that. If they want to become an entrepreneur, I am right there high-fiving them 100%. But that's not what we want, because Gabe, you don't want to hire somebody and then 6 months later they're going off on their own, starting their own gig.
Right.
You spend all this money and time in training them. So this DISC profile, if I see a high D, high I, that's a no-fly zone for us. Good for them. Kudos. I'll support you with whatever you want to do. It's just that you're not a good fit for Bottleneck, because if our clients hire somebody and invest that time, they want that person to grow with them in that company and help support them as they grow. That's our hope. So if you can have somebody hired on for 3, 4, 5 years down the road, like I have, right? You want to make sure that they're there and they enjoy what they do. That's the big part of it. So we do that. And that's the second thing. The third thing that we do that we think is a lot different is continued education. So, I'm sorry, there's actually 4 things, but the third thing we do is continued education. Now, let me go really quick into the 4th thing. And this is probably really important. We don't do project-based work. A lot of organizations do. That separates us a little bit. It's not that they're better or we're better. It's just that we do part-time and full-time positions. We're looking to help partner with the company and help them grow over a longer term than just doing a website or doing some graphic design or something like that. It's all about supporting that company. And if they're going to invest the time in scaling their business and they find somebody remote or whatever, they really have to invest that time, and it takes a while to get them up to speed. There's been studies saying that when you hire somebody, they're not fully implemented into that role for a good 6 to 9 months. Yeah. And it takes a while, right? And so that's what we're all about. We just don't do project-based work. So, I mean, come to us if you want to for a project and we'll refer you out.
Yep.
No problem with that. You know me, I'll refer stuff that I don't do to anything.
You're excellent at that. Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of really important things. And one thing that we talk a lot in the group here, and that I just talk to, all my clients and audience about, is that if you're willing to invest the time to build a process and really think long term, then you're going to get great results. If you think that you can just throw, a project somebody's way that you've never worked with before, or that you work with very sporadically, you're never going to get that consistency out of it. And the thing that I like about your onboarding process the most is, one, there's a sourcing fee, like there should be, because you guys go out and do a ton of work to find the exact right fit, and you guarantee that, which is even better. So no matter what, you're going to bring in the right person. And two, it makes, me pay attention. It makes a new client pay attention and go all the way through the onboarding process that you have. And it's step by step helps people who have never, had a VA, a personal assistant, or anybody else on their team in this role. It helps them think through every single step. And that's something that people don't know how to do. And sometimes, honestly, they don't want to do. And if you don't want to be thorough and careful and really support a new team member, then don't hire them. Just to keep doing it yourself, never grow.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really like that you force people through that, obviously in a good way, not like in a negative way. It makes it serious, because too often I come in and I see people, filled seats. They just got warm bodies in, basically, and they wonder why nothing's running right. If you actually take the time to really think it through, which we were talking about Mike Markowitz earlier, like in his book, Clockwork, that I'm reading right now, he talks about how, and I tell this to people all the time, yeah, you could totally go do that yourself and only take you 10 minutes. And yes, it might take you 3 or 4 hours to build a really thorough process to hand it off. But if you have to do that 10 minutes, a few dozen times a month, in the course of a year, you're upside down. You're losing time. And so it's actually worth it to build the detailed process, go through every step, make sure that it's, as complete as possible. Will it ever be perfect? Probably not. But if you can get it to the 80, 90, 95% level, then you can actually have freedom. And that's what your business should do for you. It should give you that freedom to take time off, or, work on the business, not in the business. And it's like, it's awesome to see that you provide that resource and you live it. I mean, I forget when we talked before this. I mean, you took 2 or 3 weeks off this year, just like I did. So It actually works.
Yeah. Well, I love, yes. High five every point you made there. And I think what's important for people to understand, you mentioned working on versus in your business. In the beginning, when you're setting up your systems and processes, you better work in your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can't expect someone else to write your systems and procedures. This is what a business, you talk about adding valuation to your company so you can go off in 5 years and sell it and be a millionaire and go do whatever it is. If you want to go on a yacht, that's your deal. Whatever your deal is, or whatever your picture of success is, in order to get to that point, you have to work in your business. I can tell you right now, Bill Gates was working hard on his business in that garage when they first started. And it wasn't until years and years and years later until he was able to step away. It's the same thing here, although this is a much smaller, world we're in here. But still, I pride myself, and you said 80, 90%. Heck, you can go 40 or 50%. Get the first thing down. And because here's the biggest challenge. I will tell you the number one reason why any relationships fail: communication.
Yep.
Easy. 100%. The number one reason why any relationship fails is communication. And here's why it doesn't work in the business world. Because we want to go out and hire a rock star to handle all the stuff that we don't want to do. But how in the hell do they know what it is we want? They can't see in our head. So always do something as it's the last time you're going to do it, by writing down the processes the way that you do it. And this does 3 things. It maintains your brand integrity, it maintains your tone, and it maintains your voice. And they can take that and run with it. And now all of a sudden, there's never going to be another Gabe Arnold, but that can be the best version of Gabe Arnold.
Yep.
So if you don't have that and you don't work in your business in the beginning, just be a solopreneur. Just go out and do your stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that people get hung up on not knowing where to start. And what you just said was really important that I want to hit on is just like sit down and just write out the bullet list. Like just write out, start there, like write the 10 things you do in this process, and then you can fill it out as you go, because a list of 10 steps is better than it being in your head. It's at least a starting point. And I know that, and I preach that and I teach it. And like yesterday, I was still stuck, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm thinking about. I just need to write out the first few steps, and the rest will get handled as we go. So it happens to everybody, no matter if you've done it thousands of times. I have thousands of process documents.
Yeah.
But so for people that are watching and listening, it's like, don't get hung up on that. Just jump into it, like, because it will work itself out if you take action on building it out. And another thing that you said earlier that I really wanted to highlight too is that you said, when we get customer feedback, we love it and we embrace that and we work on that. And that, I think, is huge, because then, not only through the onboarding process that you guys have, but also from the client side. And I tell our clients this, and I tell our team this, and I teach everybody, on the show here about this too, that you have to think long term, and you have to think, okay, I am going to making this relationship work. And because if you go into it with that mindset, you have more grace and patience, you can teach more, you can think long term, and you realize it's an investment on both sides. The people that I see turning over, softwares they use, or vendors or team members, or the high turnover, it's their fault. It's not the vendor's fault. And it's like, we have to come into this realizing that if something didn't work, it's because we didn't communicate right. And if we didn't communicate right, it comes back to what we're talking about, building those processes out the right way. So
it really is. There's that thing when you point at somebody, there's more fingers pointing back at you, right? And culture is a big thing. Oh my gosh. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, Dan. He brought up something about communication and humility. And have you ever had that where you're like, man, that person's kind of a jerk? Like he says all the time, before you say that, think about, are you the one that's being the jerk first? Like road rage, where does that come from? Was it me that started it, or was I reacting? So I think if you can come from that perspective and understand humility, then it's a lot easier to communicate that way. And I think leading with kindness is a huge trend that needs to happen and occur more often. And it's so much more powerful to be kind and listen than it is to be stern, harsh, and always talking.
Yes, totally agree. I'm working on a project related to that, actually. But
well, there you go.
It's not out yet, but it'll be out soon. But yeah, you're totally right. It's like, it's important as leaders, it's important as entrepreneurs, as managers, that we take ownership of the experience and what's going on in the team's experience. So if something didn't go right, there's only one person to blame around here. That's me. And it means that I didn't provide the support or training. I didn't give them the right resources. And I always like to remind people, like, as the leader, as CEO, whatever title you want to give yourself, your job is to reduce friction and provide resources. That's about it. Like, and be kind, of course. But it's like, if something didn't work, it's because you didn't do your job.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. At the end of the day, that's all that happened. And it's, so that's what I think is a transition from being in an employee mindset, where in a 9-to-5, if you came out of that, then you are relying on somebody else to give you that. But now, as the leader, it's your job to give that to your company and to your team. And you don't have to work in the business forever. It's like 2018 for you was a year of building these processes and learning. And obviously you continually pay attention to customer feedback, but even more so then, where it's like, oh, we don't even have anything for that. You go in and build it. But with some focused effort, now you can step out and it will run itself a lot more, and it doesn't have to be forever, even though it took you and I a couple decades to figure this stuff out. That's not how it has to go.
Yeah, it is true. Education is key. I mean, by doing what you're doing right now, Gabe, and introducing your tribe, your followers to all these different aspects of business, no matter what it may be, marketing or whatever, this is incredible. So many. So from an educational standpoint, college, I've never gotten a college degree. I mean, It wasn't for me. I wasn't good at school. I hated college. I wasn't good at it. As a matter of fact, when I went to FIT, Florida Institute of Technology, did it online, right? I said, I got to get this stuff done. And I hate math, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do marketing, So I said, okay, I'm going to purposely fail my math entrance exam so I can take the 2 easiest courses and be done with it, so I can get that out of my way. So I failed it easily. I just did the whole Z's back and forth or whatever. Well, then they put me into a remedial math class that I had to pay for that didn't count towards my credits. And I was like, well, and then I called back and I said, I purposely failed this. I hate math. I don't want to do it. Please let me retake it. I'll show you I can do that. And they're like, no, it doesn't look like you failed it. Your answers are random. And I said, of course they're random. I just, they're like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take it. So I had to, it was like, oh man, $1,200 a class or something crazy. I don't remember. I think it was $2,400, I think, or something like that. Anyways, longer story shorter, it turned me off. I just did not like education. And for me, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
But what you do, this is stuff I need. And this is stuff that I don't have to get a loan for. I can do my work, put in my hard time, and I can go. And yes, I invest in courses and in friendships and stuff like that so I can continue to learn. But this is what you're doing. This is amazing. And I think instead of taking 12 years, you can do it. But expect that if you're getting into this or you're looking to revise or revamp or do anything like that or scale, it's it's not a year-long thing. It's not a 6-month thing. I mean,
a decade or two. If you got to think long-term. Absolutely.
You do. But if I would change anything, if I go back to it, I would definitely focus on one thing. I would have focused on this when I started and didn't do anything else. I'd be so much further ahead.
Yep.
Because I can't believe the growth we've experienced with, directing my energy and just focusing on one thing.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of what I've spent the last couple of weeks working on is like cutting a ton of stuff out of my schedule. Not working Fridays this year is one of my goals. Like, so I have my calendar's blocked out on Fridays because that'll focus me even more. And something you said earlier, like just sitting there thinking, not writing down, not doing work, just like sitting and reflecting and thinking. And I don't think that we do enough of that. And then
when's the last time you did it?
Yeah. And we wonder why we get off track and like nothing's going the right way because we just get caught in busyness, which is not what we signed up for. Like nobody said, I'm going to start my own business so that I can be busier than ever before and make less per year, per hour than I have before. But that's
myth revisited, right?
Exactly. But that's exactly what happens when we're not strategic and intentional. And that's what I really like ever since we met. And I've seen you model just something I really admire about you is you're always very intentional about what you're actually working on. And you say no more than most people I know. That's something I want to work on more. Because we want to say yes, like it's fun or like it's entertaining or we want to do something new. Or of course we want to help somebody. One of those is what, as entrepreneurs, I think one of those categories is what trips us up. And it's just been really fun to see your growth and like everything that you're working on and just to see the outcome of, the results you get for us here at our team, other people I send you to love you. So it's worth it is what I want to share with everybody. It's worth it to focus in and it's worth it to get specific. It's worth it to take time off and like figure out what the hell you're doing. Like you can't do that if you're working an 80-hour week. You have to keep working 80-hour weeks to keep working 80-hour weeks.
Not the truth.
It's a forever hell, but because I've tried that too. But so it's just super cool to see where you're at and talk a little bit about the kind of verticals that you guys are focused in on and like who your ideal client is and like who you're looking for. Cause like I said, you are the number one guy that I recommend people go to when it comes to VAs because you guys just do a phenomenal job. So I can't endorse you highly enough.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. That means a ton, man, because I know how thorough you are. Yeah. Well, what we're doing is the vertical that we're on right now is general business. And this is where we started out to really focus on, and I realized I didn't niche down enough. Mm-hmm. So we're doing some other things that are coming down the pike, and I'll share that with you in a little bit. But one of the things that we're focused on really big time is the administrative positions. I'd gotten into like SEO and web developers and things like that, and that's all fine and dandy. And we can still do something like that, but we really want to support the administrative efforts because, number one, this is probably the most time-consuming aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
Paperwork, email, right? Is this stuff duplicable? Duplicatable?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is it something that we can delegate? Yes. Is it something that gives us energy? In my case, no. Is it something that it gives whoever I delegate it to energy? Yes. They love that. They love the details. They love making sure stuff gets done. They love checking lists off, to-dos. That's what they love. They enjoy that. That gives them energy. Win-win, in my opinion. So we're really focused on helping with that, because what we can do a lot of times too is we can help people with their systems and how to get that started through the onboarding process and getting them going in the right way and getting them to think a little bit differently how they're running their business. So we really like to focus on the administrative level or the personal assistant level, either one of those things. If you're somebody that travels a lot, you need somebody there to book your plane flights and make your reservations and search for the low. Have you ever booked a flight and searched for the lowest ticket, and arrange the dates a little bit or the times or whatever? That's time consuming.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I would rather sit out, like you sent me that video of you sitting out on the veranda, like I'm relaxing. Like that's what I'd rather do than look, not all the time, but sounds good right now. Anyways, yeah, so there's little things like that, and that's why we really focus in on the administrative level. And then I think coming down the road, we're going to niche down even more. So right now we have Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. In March, you will see Bottleneck Medical Virtual Services, and we're only going to be dealing with the podiatry industry. And so we've come up with, we're running a pilot program right now. That's why we're going to be launching that a little bit later, but we're really excited about that. We're able to save physicians a ton of time, energy, and a ton of money. So it's pretty incredible what we're doing there. And then we're also looking at doing down the road at possibly just speaker assistance for people that go out and speak. So that'll be another niche, and we'll have people specially trained in both those verticals. So we'll have RNs with HIPAA compliancy on the medical side. And then on the speaker side, they go through a training course specifically trained by a speaker who does that. She trains assistants to be help assistants for speakers. So each of them will have their in particular verticals. And then we have two more that we're considering knocking around right now, but you can see what we're doing is we're just niching down. And I think, thank the Lord for Bottleneck being created in the first place and giving us, these initial challenges to where we said, okay, we have an opportunity here, but we need to make it more specific so that we're talking their language and really helping them out and diving into what their challenges are in their specific industry. And so that's kind of what we have coming down the pike.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think the huge value, like you just talked about, is like administrative work. I know very, very few entrepreneurs that love that stuff. They're out there, but it's a percentage point or two, maybe. Like, that stuff will trip you up and kill you if you don't do it too. It's like if you lose that email or you don't book your flight on time, you pay more, or all this other stuff will catch up.
You get to follow up with someone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, just to give everybody like a little bit of a picture of what Christian does for me, which is super nice. Like, I get a lot of chats, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, a lot of things that come in every day. And some people I do need to get together with and meet, and I would, it would never happen because I would miss out on 80% of them because I just don't have the bandwidth. So he'll set up my appointments like he set this up for us, obviously. And then the other thing that is something that I do is like on LinkedIn and Facebook every day, he goes into my accounts and we have that set up technically in a way that's safe and secure and makes sense. And he goes in and wishes everybody happy birthday every day as me. And like that to me is one of the most valuable things he does because it continues to perpetuate goodwill. It's like, I don't want to miss your birthday. And like, I have almost 20,000 connections. So it's like, it's a lot to keep up with, but it's very important to me. And it's like the virtual kind of birthday card thing that we do. And it's doing that and then keeping email clean and like calling people back that I don't need to talk to, like tell them this thing. Like I can in 10 seconds chat to them what I want them to do. And then I don't have to spend 3 to 5 minutes or get caught on the phone or do something that I shouldn't be doing. And it's made it so like I took the last 2 weeks off over the holidays and I didn't have to worry about anything or do anything. Like it was all just handled. And that's like time back that I love having. I have that freedom. And what you said earlier is important too, is like, he loves it when he gets to do that stuff for me. Like it's like, it's his favorite. Like
Yeah.
I would pull my hair out. What little I have left. But it's like, I cannot stand that stuff. And the more I give him like that, I notice like when I give him something new to do, or like he manages a cold calling team with me now. He does a bunch of different stuff for me. He's like, thank you so much for today. I had a blast. Like I love learning all this new stuff. And like the busier I make him, the happier he is. So it's like, it's a perfect fit, like you said. And there's just so many applications for what can be done. And for people that haven't tried it or done it yet, you're missing out. Like, you're missing out on time and revenue and energy, and like you can't get those back. And so it's worth the investment. And will it happen in a week? Nope. It's going to take you, like you said, it's going to take the onboarding process. It's going to take a few months. It's going to take some time to sync up. But now I'm at 6 or 8 months with Christian now, I think since May actually. So a while. And now like I don't have to worry about anything. It's like introducing a new process or doing something new is super easy because we're synced up and we've invested the time in our relationship. But the outcome is huge because I have so much more freedom. And so that's why it's definitely something I always encourage people to do, and do it the right way. Don't half-ass it. Don't go to Fiverr and find some random person for a project. Actually do this the right way so that you're supported and so that new team member that you bring in is supported too, because that's when it's a real win-win.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the other things too is people have a huge fear. A couple of things. They have a huge fear of having somebody do what they're doing as good or better than them.
Yeah.
So I'll crack that myth right now. They'll usually improve your process. I almost guarantee it. They'll make it better. You got to put your time in. They'll take that and they'll turn it up by 10. So that's one thing out of the way. You'll find. The other thing is I was really worried about putting into so many processes that I would be able to make myself replaceable.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a big deal. Like, I could just, and I was really afraid because this is in essence, I call it our baby now because I really do feel like it's ours because they've helped so much. When I say they, I mean the staff, my team, love them to death.
Yeah.
They came up with a video, at the end of the year, and they all thanked me and stuff like that. It totally unsolicited. It was amazing that they would take the time to do that. But we have a really good culture. But the thing about that is that I realized it's okay for me to be replaceable. It's actually, that's the way you should run the company.
That's the
is
sign.
To have it so that you're replaceable.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're saying, hey, I worked my ass off on this thing. These people are going to screw it up.
Yeah.
So that is a mindset, in my opinion, of pure weakness. And I'm sorry if I'm offending people right now, because a lot of people are going to they don't like it when I say this, but that was me. And only going through this experience have I been able to realize this and grow myself and see the bigger picture. And that's why you'll never really hear me say I have clarity now. I'll always say that I have direction, because I don't have that clarity yet, right? I don't exactly know what that is. I know where I want to go, but there's a hill in front of me. I can't see the final destination, but I have a really good sense of direction. And boy, I'm super pumped to make my way there.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, because clarity can be elusive, but having a strong direction is definitely the right way of looking at that. And I like what you said. It is, you are weak-minded if you think that you can't be replaced. And it's easy to be in that mindset early on, because I think at least a few of us started our businesses, from an egotistical standpoint, which is okay. It's like, oh, I could do that better. Yeah, I could do that better. I'm going to go do that. And that's fine. But like, you can't live there if you want to grow. Ultimately, you have to be able to step back and be the person behind the scenes and it run itself. And then you have a business and you're not just a solopreneur or freelancer.
Yeah. I had someone approach me the other day and said, hey, I'm happy to, we were having a conversation, happy to be a COO, and the operations guy, because, this is your challenges and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Most people, in my opinion, probably would have been offended by that whole conversation. Yeah. I was elated. I was so happy to hear that someone believed enough in our vision and what we were doing that they wanted to help even more and improve the systems. And they want to even sit in on a meeting of ours, not say anything, and just kind of check it out and see what happens. Yeah. Just to be able to form some kind of an opinion or, gather some data and then make some recommendations on how we can improve. I was like, man, oh my God, thank you. That's amazing that someone would take the time to do that. And I think so many people have the mindset of, hey, what? No, I don't need that. And I would just, my wish for this year for everybody is that they maybe open themselves up for a little bit more replaceability, I guess.
Yeah, that's when you've actually succeeded. Awesome. So I put the link here, but for everybody listening, you can go to bottleneck.online to check out what Jaime and his team do. Like I said, they're phenomenal. So if you're looking for this, it's definitely something I'd recommend you jump into and check out, and they will help you with whatever you need. And I work with a lot of folks on his team, and they've been phenomenal. So thank you so much for being on, Jaime, and I'm sure we'll have you back on soon.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if you want to put in a promo code and put the big Gabe Arnold in there, we'll give you a 10% off the sourcing fee.
Awesome. Gabe Arnold?
Gabe Arnold.
All right. Cool. Put that in here. Cool. Yeah, so thank you so much, Jaime, and we'll have you back on soon.
Thank you, man.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.